Welcome to WrestleMania.
Ooh, yeah! I am the game! Woo!
Yes! I will give you a show like you have never, ever seen before. Why? Because I am
the best there is, the best there was, and the best that there ever will be.
You will rest in peace. What you gonna do when the whole world falls? I mean, destroy
and that's
you.
the bottom line, 'cause Stone Cold says it.
Welcome to another edition of your boy Alyx's WrestleMania Review Series. Today, we look at the night where the Boyhood Dream came true. The Boyhood Dream has come true for Shawn Michaels. WrestleMania 12. In my opinion, a very underrated WrestleMania. It doesn't get nearly enough respect. At least the respect it deserves. Let's be real, it's 1996. This is the year where WWF was getting their asses handed to them by WCW. WCW had the checkbook of Ted Turner. They brought in all these megastars, Hogan, Savage, Mean Gene Okerlund, people that WWF established to kick them in the balls even harder. But it was also the year we lost some major names from the company. After WrestleMania 12, we see Diesel and Razor Ramon, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash leave the company and go to WWE to have what is iconically known as the betrayal from Hulk Hogan. They make the NWO, the New World Order. The WWF sees a 2-year drought in ratings, and they don't recover until 1998. They get their butts handed to them for almost 2 years straight in the ratings. We call it a war, but when it first started, there was no war. WCW was kicking their behinds. They don't start fighting back. The WWF doesn't start fighting back until 1998. But that's to come. Here in 1996, it was rough. It was a rough time. Along with Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, we had Roddy Piper leaving after this WrestleMania. We had Ted DiBiase leaving, Mr. Perfect. I think IRS, if he hasn't already left, he will eventually leave as well. So many people were leaving. And we're not done yet. This is just 1996. We got more people getting ready to leave. To make matters worse, we had the curtain call incident in Madison Square Garden. Those of you who don't know the curtain call. As I said, Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, and Kevin Nash, Diesel, were leaving. We had Diesel and Triple H as the heels taking on Shawn Michaels and Scott Hall in a steel cage match. After the match, we see the babyfaces and the heels celebrate with each other. They broke character, they broke their roles, and as best friends as the Clique, the Clique, they decided to celebrate because what they were doing at the time, this is 1996, this isn't 2007, where it's okay. We've seen this happen many times before. We've seen the babyfaces and the heels congratulate each other after the match because that's what they do. But here in 1996, it was taboo. You were not supposed to do this because the business was still heavily protected at this point. And what these four did, it broke a lot of rules. It broke a lot of barriers. And curtain call, it pulled the curtain from over our eyes and revealed that, hey, we're actors. We know that this is scripted. You knew all along that this is scripted. Let's just acknowledge it. It was bad. It was bad for WWF at the time. And yeah, there was some hell to pay. Unfortunately, you couldn't punish Scott Hall and Kevin Nash because they were leaving. You couldn't punish Shawn Michaels because he was the headliner. Who got the brunt of this punishment? Who was punished the hardest? Triple H. Triple H took a lot of crap over the next, I dare say, 2-3 years. He doesn't really get back on his feet until he becomes the game. Triple H. Maybe, I'll say this. When he took over DX, it did get better for him then. But he doesn't really get back on his feet until he becomes the game. Now, it did lead to some great things to come, but man, that was a crazy move. Speaking of Razor Ramon, he was not on this show. Also not on this show was Sonny. Some of you might not know who Sonny is. Let me just say that Sonny is the first popular Playboy magazine covers period diva. Maybe the first diva in WWF history. She was not on this show. I think she was on a pre-match with, I don't know who she was tag teaming with at this time, or who she was managing at this time. But she was not on the show. Also not on the show, Jim Ross. I don't know what his deal was. I think during this time he was a heel. Quote unquote heel. I don't know what they were doing with him. Again, Jim Ross was having a rocky relationship with the WWF at this time. Next year, he is back on commentary. He is back on commentary next year. And then following that, he is the head commentator. Along with that, man, we also had the rise of Stone Cold Steve Austin. King of the Ring later on this year. He beats Jake the Snake Roberts. And then we have the infamous Austin 316 says, I just whipped your ass. I think by WrestleMania 14, he is the guy to watch. He might reach it a little bit earlier than that. I'm not too sure. Next year, we have an awesome match with him involved. But as for him right now, he's still the ringmaster. I mean, he has donned the Stone Cold name, but he's still trying to find his niche. He's still trying to find who he is, find his way. Ted DiBiase is his manager right now. They brought him in as the ringmaster. Not a good gimmick. Actually pretty bad. I'll be real with you, it is a pretty bad gimmick. As a wrestler, very agile. Really good to watch. Despite the fact that he's not Stone Cold yet, still a good wrestler. Still very entertaining to watch. This is also the WrestleMania where we got the return of the Ultimate Warrior, who doesn't stay very long. As a matter of fact, he ends up leaving shortly after this. And he ends up suing the WWF for the right to use Warrior as his real name. Yeah. This is not the best time to know the Warrior. He was not in a good place in his life. They made a self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior based off of this. They were mad at him. They wanted to bury the Ultimate Warrior. They talked so bad about him for years. For at least over a decade. Until he got inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2014. He had a bad, straight up bad, ugly relationship with the WWF. I can't really say it was WWF's fault though, because Warrior was crazy at this time. This is the second WrestleMania where we have two baby faces in the main event. Shawn Michaels had turned face because, like I said before, at this time it was really hard to hate Shawn Michaels. He won the Royal Rumble for a second time, the first one to do it 2 times in a row. And he fought Bret the Hitman Hart, who won his three-time championship from Diesel. The show was 3 hours. It happened 1996 on March 31st. The arena was the Arrowhead Pond in Anaheim, California. Attendance 18,863. Commentary was Vincent Kennedy McMahon with Jerry the King Lawler. If I'm not mistaken, like I said, Jim Ross does return next year. Please, look, I know Vince is... He is one of the, if not the greatest businessmen in the world. That's just my opinion. Not just for wrestling. Businessmen, period. But as a commentator, he's like Michael Cole. Really, Michael Cole is good at calling moments, but not calling wrestling moves. Well, I will say Cole was good when it comes to working with Taz on SmackDown. Vince, what a maneuver! He was good at calling moments, but not calling the moves. As a play-by-play commentator, he sucked. Just being real with you. Michael P.S. Hayes and Mr. Perfect as interviewers. And then we had Howard Fink as the ring announcer. Let's get to the show. No national anthem. They didn't even bother finding anybody to sing the national anthem. Like I said, the star power for WWF at the time was very low. But it's funny. When you look at this show, you look at this card. I mean, let me name you the people on WrestleMania 12. Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, Sable, Roddy Piper, The Ultimate Warrior, Mr. Perfect, Jake the Snake Roberts, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, HBK, Ted DiBiase, Vader, Kevin Nash. A huge list of big legends, big top 50 greatest wrestlers of all time. I'm just saying, maybe you can eliminate Sable from that list, but yeah. These are some big names, man. Some big names. Jack Tunney had left WWF and was no longer the president. I believe Gorilla Monsoon was now the president of the WWF. Yes, at the time, Vince McMahon still wasn't trying to play up the fact that he was the owner. Although at this point, everybody knew. Everyone knew Vince McMahon was the owner of the WWF, and it was about time he just came out and admitted it. We were just waiting. He won't acknowledge it, honestly, until next year, after WrestleMania 13. But let's just get to the matches. 6-man tag between Vader, the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, and Owen Hart with Jim Cornette. British Bulldog turned heel. I'm not too sure how I feel about that, but it is what it is. They took on Yokozuna, who turned babyface, Ahmed Johnson, and Jake the Snake Roberts. Decent match. As for being a fast-paced match, it really wasn't, but the best match they could have with these 6 men, they did, and it was good enough. I'll take it. It's not the match that I would open up the show with, but again, considering what they have on this roster and the small roster they have, yeah, this was the best match they could have. It was a fun opener. It involved a ton of veteran wrestlers. I mean, come on. Hart, Roberts, freaking Vader. Where do you go wrong with this match? It was at least going to be fun to watch. By the way, Vader was new. This was around the time that Vader just came to WWF. At this time, he was receiving a monster push, as he should receive a monster push. So that main event scene, because he's awesome, he's Vader. And Yokozuna, believe it or not, although I wasn't a big fan of some of his matches, he actually had some legit good matches around this time, and he did a really good job in this match. That's for sure. As for Ahmed Johnson, you know I have to talk about this guy, because I don't think we hear much from him after this. We might see him in one more match, but Ahmed Johnson, to me, was very athletic. He had a really good look to him. But he was missing something. He was missing that one element to him that would make him a superstar. He had the ability to be one. What hurt him overall was the fact that he was unhealthy. He got hurt a lot. He was injury prone. I think, how many injuries did he have? Someone tell me down below how many injuries this guy had. It was a lot. It was a lot of injuries, so he never got a chance to realize his potential, unfortunately. We know what happens with Owen Hart, British Bulldog, and Vader down the line. But yeah, that sucks. That really does suck for Ahmed Johnson. We had the Hollywood backlot brawl. Goldust, Dustin Rhodes, who recently became or metamorphosized himself into Goldust, took on the hot rod himself, Roddy Piper. Man, what I like about this match, and I don't think I'm even going to call it a match, because there wasn't a winner. It was just a fight. So let's not call it a match. It was a fight. What I like about this fight, this brawl, is that it took place throughout the show. I like the thread it had around or through WrestleMania 12. It was really cool. It made it feel a lot more fresher than the past WrestleManias. And then you had Goldust. Man, in 1996, Goldust was something crazy. That was a huge character to have on their roster. I love the mind games that he played. I love the gold. I love the flamboyant personality of all that stuff. And then him feeling on the wrestlers, basically molesting them. He molested the wrestlers. Kissed them, grabbed their parts in private areas, and it was just a crazy wild character to have. But he was fun to watch. He was entertaining nonetheless. And the stuff he did with Piper, it just meshed very well. They just really had good chemistry, and it would make sense. You had this straight up flamboyant little boy taking on this manly, I'm gonna punch you in the face man, and Piper. And man, the stuff they did, outside the arena, the brawl, the fight was great. The blood helped as well. Them chasing, them doing the highway chase in cars, reminiscent of O.J. Simpson at the time. Don't ask. Don't ask me why they did that. They just did. But they came back to the arena, and you see Goldust again doing his stuff, his flamboyant molestation stuff, feeling on Piper and caressing his face, kissing him. Piper exploded. He went nuts. He ripped his clothes off. You see him wearing a bra and panties. Again, I'm telling you, he was a wild character. And then he runs away. Piper standing tall. The crowd loved it. It was a great fight. It was a really, really great fight. And I enjoyed it. It was fun. Just a fun fight overall. And it made WrestleMania 12 a very easy show to sit through. Speaking of show, we have Stone Cold Steve Austin again as the ringmaster. well, not the Ringmaster anymore. He has donned the Stone Cold gimmick. But it's still basically a remaster. He still has the $1 Million Championship. He's still accompanied by Ted DiBiase. He still hasn't found his way yet. But he took on Savio Vega. The match was solid. Again, this is when Austin was still in good shape. He didn't injure himself yet. We all know about that injury he has with Owen Hart in 1997. Yes, 1997, next year. It's unfortunate. It hurt him, but it didn't really stop him from becoming the legend, the megastar that he would end up becoming. But before all of that, he was just Stone Cold Steve Austin. He was just Steve Austin, and he was a really good wrestler. And I have to wonder, if he had never gotten that injury in 1997, how good would he really be? Would he have changed up his style? Would his style have affected his ability to become a professional wrestler? I don't know. We don't know. We will never know. But in terms of this match, solid. For a WrestleMania debut for Austin and Savio Vega, it wasn't that bad. Austin was a lot more agile, and as a performer, he was top notch, very top notch. He didn't have the stunner yet. He had that $1 Million Dream, the Cobra Clutch that Ted DiBiase used. He would eventually don the stunner not too long after this. So be prepared for Austin to take off next year. Next year, wait for it. Wait for next year. We are going to have one of the best matches with him and Bret Hart. I promise you. It's going to be amazing to talk about. What wasn't that great of a match, wasn't even a match, was Hunter Hearst Helmsley. This is Triple H before he was Triple H. He was basically that William Regal squire. He wore a suit. He came out to classical music. He had a cane. He spoke with a British accent. Literally, he was that William Regal kind of character. And he didn't do it as well, but it is what it is. What can you do? He came out with Sable. Yeah, this is when Sable, I think she came in with Triple H in this gimmick. So yeah, this is where she made her WrestleMania debut. And they took on the Ultimate Warrior. And how do you think this is going to end? It's the Ultimate Warrior taking on Triple H. The Warrior squashes him. You know how a Warrior match works. His matches are less longer. They're not even as long. But they take up less time than his entrance. He comes out, he runs, he does the whole spectacle. And then he gets in the ring and beats his opponent in a minute. It was a dud. I didn't really give it a grade because there was no grade. He beats him in seconds. And yeah, he's back. He doesn't stay long, but he's back. The crowd loved it, so I'll give it that. WrestleMania streak number 5. The Undertaker versus Big Daddy Cool Diesel, a.k.a. Kevin Nash. Now, you guys know how I feel about the first 4 WrestleMania matches. Not a fan of them. Matter of fact, I'll be honest with you. At this time, you might think that the streak is overrated. If you're first getting caught up on Taker's streak, you're watching it and you're going, this streak isn't all that impressive. It's not really known for having the best of matches at first. Wait till you get to this match. After this match, trust me, his streak gets a lot better until we hit Big Boss Man. But other than that, other than a few notches along the way, the rest of Taker's matches are awesome. And this is the start of that. This was a great match between Taker and Diesel. For big men, for 2 big men who usually have to rely on the smaller, faster wrestler to make a good match, they did very well. To me, here's a situation where putting the men in the right roles just worked. Big Daddy Cool Diesel sucked as a babyface. He sucked as a babyface. But as a heel, he was awesome. Kevin Nash as a heel, period, is awesome. Unless he's an anti-hero like he was in WCW, he wasn't really a face or a heel in WCW. You know, he was the guy that walked that line. And it worked for him. He can be that cool villain that you like to see get beat up, that you like to see do drastic, evil things. But you still kind of want to root for him. You know, you kind of want to see him succeed in a way because he's cool. That's the kind of person, that's the character that Kevin Nash played very well. When he's a white bread babyface, he sucks. He is awful. And I'm happy he played the heel against Taker because it worked so well. Love seeing him go in there. And anytime he knocked Taker down, he bragged about it. He was slow. He was cocky. He took his time. He smiled. And when he hit Taker with those two jackknife, very well executed power bombs, this is around the time where Taker was getting better inside the ring. He was getting so much better inside the ring at this time. But he nailed Taker with 2 power bombs. And he was just like, look at this. Look at this. I'm the man. I'm the man. Come on now. And then Taker sat up. Taker sitting up at this time, every time he did it, it was awesome. Taker was easily and quickly becoming the best wrestler, if not one of the best wrestlers in the wrestling business at this time. He was a spectacle. He was amazing to watch. And he was knocking it out of the park every single night. Every town, every place he went to, he was killing it. But getting back to this match, I loved it. I thought it was a great match, man. And one of the underrated Taker matches. People don't talk about this one a lot. I mean, we have so much bear matches coming up, but this is one of those matches that people should go back and watch. It was a good match overall. Alright, let's get to it. The main event. WWF World Heavyweight Championship 1 hour Iron Man match. The Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels versus the excellence of execution, the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, Bret Hart. We had the spectacular zip line entrance from Shawn Michaels before this match. He came down on that big zip line that Vince McMahon has said in interviews. He wrote it first before Shawn Michaels did, but he came down spectacular, amazing. Even if you watch it nowadays, you'll love it. It's a great entrance. But getting into the match. What people say about this match is what I believe make it controversial. You have one half of the crowd calling it a classic. It's one of the greatest matches of all time. One of the greatest WrestleMania matches in history. But then you have that other half that say it's overrated. It doesn't deserve as much praise as it gets. It's a good match, but it's not a great match. It's not amazing. It's not one of the greatest of all time. And their complaints is, this match went an hour. And unfortunately, there was never a fall. Within that match, the Iron Man portion of it, neither man pinned each other. Now, you can look at that and go, great drama. Great drama. It makes it feel that much special. And at the time, when you're watching it live, yeah, I can believe that. But looking back on it, would it make it rewatchable? Would you sit through an hour knowing that nobody gets pinned again? That's a good argument. That's a good argument, and I don't know if I would be able to argue against that. So if you want to say it's overrated, by all means, I understand. However, I'm going to be in that camp that says it's a classic. I'm sorry, I've watched this match. This is my 5th, maybe even more than that. This is my umpteenth time. How about that? Watching this match. I love it. It's an amazing match. Yes, it's slow. It's slow at the first 20 minutes, but it has to be. If you're going to go a long time, you have to pace yourself. The last 40 minutes, the moment Shawn Michaels super kicks the timekeeper on the outside, he gets carried out. From that point to the end, it's an amazing match. Fantastic. They kill it. It is 2 of the best performances, period. Not just during this time, but period. When you look back on this match and you see what it did for the career of not only Bret Hart, but Shawn Michaels. When he pins Bret Hart after hitting the super kick, 1, 2, 3, and they go into overtime, by the way. He beats him in overtime, 1, 2, 3. You had that amazing celebration. Shawn Michaels finally becoming the main guy. The boyhood dream has come true for Shawn Michaels. He's crying. He holds the belt to his face. It is the crowning achievement for Shawn Michaels. From this point forward, he becomes the man for WWF until he leaves. He's crossed into that stratosphere, into not just being your average good wrestler. He has become the man. He has become someone to watch. He has become a marquee name. You put Shawn Michaels' name on a billboard, people go watch it because of this match here. So absolutely spectacular. One of the greatest matches in WrestleMania history. I'm going to give it an A+. It's a classic. I do recommend that you guys watch it at least once. But give me your thoughts about this match. How do you feel about it? How do you feel about WrestleMania 12? To me, I gotta say, so far, again, in terms of match quality alone, this is the best WrestleMania so far. Will it get better after this? You goddamn right. There are better WrestleManias than 12. But this is still a really good WrestleMania. Damn good show. But thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys at WrestleMania 13. That will also be a good show to talk about, but we'll get there in the next video. Peace out.